Okay. So it's finally here for us. We're back at it. Week later, most cases where we practiced before the break, but we had an additional week, so we chose to spend that time in off season in the weight room, in conditioning. It worked out really well for us. I feel like our team is in the best condition that we've ever been in at this time of the year. We've had a great off season, so we're excited about getting started. Looking forward to the next 15 practices.
Mike, did the opportunity to push things back after spring break, did that give Derek Mason some extra time to get comfortable?
Sure it did. The conditioning for the players, an extra week in the weight room, another week of the early morning runs, the grind that we put them through was more important. Coach has been here enough, and with him adapting to our system, it was pretty easy for him to adjust. There's a lot of similarities with what we were doing that he was doing or has done at some point in his career. So that adjustment, the camaraderie in the defensive staff room has been really good up to this time. So I'm excited about watching our defense continue to grow with what we've developed over the last 2 or 3 years.
Mike, with Illingworth gone, do you worry much about quarterback depth?
Well, I always worry about quarterback depth. We've been fortunate in the past that we've gotten to our second team quarterback and even to our third team quarterback, and they have played pretty well. In my opinion, playing quarterback at this level is more difficult now than it has been in my 30-something years in college football, for 2 reasons. One, because defensive linemen at this level are starting to change games like defensive linemen have been in the NFL for 20 years. Such better athletes than we've ever seen rushing the quarterback. And 2, the systems on defense are much more complicated than it used to be even 6, 7 years ago. So I worry about that. I think it's going to be an issue that we all have across college football, because with open transfer, that's the one position where it seems to be leading the charge that if I or that player's not the quarterback, then we're seeing them take a tendency and just go somewhere else and want to be the guy. So I think this is going to be common. I don't know that it'll be easy to keep more than 2 to 3 quarterbacks on a scholarship at once, just based on the availability of the open market.
Mike, based on offensive line, last year you were so plentiful at 3 levels on both sides of the ball. You got all that extra work in physically. What do you expect the flavor of this spring to be?
Offensive line?
Well, I mean, as far as how much you can get physical, and what will you get out of this the most?
Well, we're going to practice physical. We just won't be as physical with our threes as we have been. We've had that luxury since 2020. That's what COVID taught me, right or wrong, is to make sure that everybody got equal number of reps for the most part. We carried that through. We have it set up this way this spring, but we don't have the numbers on the offensive line. So we'll have to be delicate with our 2s to keep them healthy and get them some reps with the 3s at the skill position. We do have those numbers on the defense. We're really deep on that side of the ball, which is what I would prefer in most cases, because we play two units. But we're going to practice physical. We're going to play hard.
What are you looking to most excited to see about Coach Mason getting into his first 15 workouts?
Oh, I think it's intriguing to watch the different style and approach of coaches, and where I'm at now in my career, just to sit back and enjoy it. They're all different. Glenn Spencer had his style, and Coach Knowles had his style, and Coach Mason, I think I have a pretty good feel for him and his style. So I'm just excited to watch him work as a unit. One advantage that he has and the other coaches on defense have is we lost some guys that are good football players, but we have a number of guys back that played a significant number of snaps in key games. So for the most part, we just need to guide the ship in the right direction. Don't confuse them and let them go play. And I think Coach Mason is a very humble person who's been through a lot in his career. He understands that, and I think he'll work well with the players.
What are some of those challenges that Derek has in terms of not just implementing his defense and settling in, but doing it with a lot of new faces kind of settling in?
It's not really as many new faces, based on what I said. The guys that are going to be out there played significant snaps last year. And we're running Oklahoma State's defense, just like we've always run Oklahoma State's offense. We hadn't changed that in 12 years. He's going to put his twist on it that makes it comfortable for him to call plays on game day. And then he'll adjust with our staff. I see them working very well together. And so it's going to be very similar to what we have, because it's easy to teach one person to speak a different language than it is to teach all those guys that have been here. So that's why we're moving in that direction.
You mentioned the difference in styles. What do you think his style is that you anticipate?
Well, I guess style meaning personality. Everybody here is different.
Right.
So he's, Jim is Jim. Jim's a mad scientist. He's, Dexter in the laboratory, right? He goes in and shuts his door and comes out with a plan, and that's what he does. Derek is out more. He's with the group more. And I haven't seen him during the season, so obviously I can't speak to that. But he spends a lot of time in that staff room with the other 6 or 8 or 10 of them in there, with all the student assistants and the full-time guys. More so than Jim at this point is what I would notice to be the difference.
You have Spencer back at quarterback, Rattay back coaching him, Casey back as OC. The continuity there, you expect that to pick the offense up and maybe be ahead of where you've been going into other seasons?
Spencer had a great year last year. I mean, we would all like to say that, we can keep a card, discard, and he'd like to discard the championship game and keep the others. But we didn't protect him very well. And I've said this all along, and I'll say it again. You watch high school games and college games and watch NFL games, and I see quarterbacks that are ranked really high, and if you don't protect them, they don't play very well. And there's times that he didn't play as well as he wanted to, but we did not protect him very well. We didn't rush the football. And when that happens, it's difficult for a quarterback. So Spencer had a great year last year, and he's mature. He gets it. He's humble. He competes. We need to get him out of some of the reps this spring. He doesn't like that, but we need to get his work and let him go over there and let the other guys get some quality work, because he's had a lot of work. But I think he speaks the language very well. I know that they're comfortable with Rattay, and obviously Dunn's system's not going to change. We're going to do what we do. So he should be in good shape as we move forward.
In terms of protecting him, what do you kind of expect that to look like this season with losing Sills?
Well, we'll be fine up front. We don't have a lot of depth right now because we had a couple guys that would be one guy that would be in the 2 deep that left in the portal. We had a few leave, but one of them was a portal. One guy would be in the 2 deep. And then we had 2 or 3 guys that had minor scopes, so they won't be in spring ball. That's why we're down a few guys. There's like 3 of them. So once those guys come back a couple months and get going and they train on their own in June, they'll be fine because they are experienced. And it goes back to what Robert continues to bring up. Those guys have had a lot of reps in the last 18 months. I mean, more than we've ever had here. So they've had enough work that they should feel good and understand our system and be able to play at a high level.
2.5 months ago, Mike, you talked extensively about the opportunity this program had to take a next step, so to speak. It's the last time we had a chance to talk to you. In terms of commitment, administration, support, that kind of thing, since then, is that momentum still on track?
Yes, it's been tremendous. And I have so much confidence in the direction that we're moving right now. And it's not just selfishly for football. I think that we have new blood. I think we have youth. I think we have innovative people that don't take no for an answer and are willing to do whatever it takes to be successful in a lot of areas. So I have a tremendous amount of confidence in Dr. Schrum and Chad Weiberg. And essentially that's what it comes down to. They call the shots. I have weekly conversations, multiple weekly conversations with both of them on different things. Even as much as facilities, new facilities here for us in football and other sports, different ways to raise money. So I'm very excited about our administration. I think we have a great working relationship.
Is there anything specific they've done to help you since the Fiesta Bowl?
Well, between Dr. Schrum and Chad Weiberg, they've completely revamped our people that work in that football building financially. I mean, they've taken care of football and taken football to a level that, with the exception of Oklahoma and Texas, which I don't know if we'll be in their category budget-wise in my lifetime, but a year or two from now they won't be in our league, so I don't have to worry about that. But for the most part, they've taken the staff and everybody in that building to a level financially that will be the top in this league, which is a huge commitment because that keeps continuity and structure. Most of the there's almost 100 people that work in our building in all different areas, and the large majority of them have been with us or with me a long time, and that helps me. So in my opinion, when they make that commitment, they're showing that football is important and it gives us a chance to play at a high level.
You moved Joe Bob to coaching linebackers. What went into that decision?
So when we moved Joe Bob to linebackers, that allowed us to transition right into defense in the off season, and now with a coach at every position that already knows our system. So when Coach Knowles left, which you guys know he was a walk-around coordinator, so we had a graduate assistant that coached linebackers the years that he was here. So he left and went with Coach Knowles. So I transitioned Joe Bob into that position, so the linebackers had a coach that knew our system, and they spoke the language. And then I let Coach Mason walk around. That's what he's going to do now. And I thought that was a smart move on our part, so there wasn't any adjustment for the linebackers to have to transition a new coach that didn't know our system.
Mike, speaking of linebackers, you know, your starters are going to be working out Thursday on Pro Day. How anxious are you to see those guys that are going to fill in there at linebacker?
We've got good young players at that position that don't have any experience. And that's what it comes down to. So we've gone through this. I think the comparison would be where we were at wide receiver this year. We played a number of young guys in games 1 through 6 that really shouldn't have been on the field, but they had to by default. So these guys are going to have to grow up quick. This spring will be very important for them. But I will say this: they're big enough, they're fast enough, and we'll find out this spring if they're tough enough. If they can fit those 3 criteria, we'll teach them how to play. I'm not worried about the rest.
Your 2 JUCO guys with Xavier Benson, a linebacker, and then Tyrone Weber on the offensive line. How important is this spring for those guys?
Well, specifically at linebacker, we get some maturity there. And you know, we would like to play 4 linebackers. Malcolm was so good last year, we couldn't take him off the field. And Harper played tremendous, so hard to get him off the field. But if you remember the year before, Devin didn't get on the field very much. And that's a great example of, you know, you never know how a young man's going to play till he gets out there and plays. So we should have played Devin more during his career, in my opinion. I'm not blaming anybody. You can blame me if you want. It doesn't make a difference. But it's a good example of until you get a young man out there and you watch him play, you really never know. So with Xavier coming in, if he can catch up and get going, he gives us experience. He's 237 pounds. He can run. He's physical. So you get some maturity, so a young guy has a chance to grow and develop.